I'd originally thought about entitling this column Hillary, Bernie and the Future of the Democratic Party. But given a choice, I wouldn't read an opinion piece with that headline. I don't entirely relish writing one, either. So fair warning, we're going there. But maybe, just maybe, we may feel a bit better afterward. Whether you were burning for Bernie or with her in 2016, by this stage, you likely feel a particular kind of queasy dread when you come across an article, a TV interview or a Facebook post that reheats the oversalted emotional stew that sometimes boiled over during the Democratic primaries. In most quarters, it slowly cooled once the primaries ended, though the flame got turned up high again when Hillary Clinton lost the presidential election to the most unpopular candidate in American history. Following Donald Trump's inauguration, the daily outrages that have been his presidency's hallmarks have inspired many Democrats, Democratic Socialists, progressives and independents to put aside their differences and link arms in resistance. Then, all in 1 week, Hillary Clinton released her post-election memoir, What Happened, and Bernie Sanders launched his Medicare for All bill. With both of them front and center on the national stage again, the rancor and finger-pointing between their two camps are back with a vengeance. Those who were long suspicious of her point to Clinton's book as evidence that she's an out-of-touch elitist, a policy wonk devoid of big ideas. And those who've been dismissive of him think that Brother Bernie is off on another doomed quixotic quest, one that emboldens Republicans by evoking a whiff of socialism, which, to most noses in the U.S. Congress, stinks like a fart. Because of the aforementioned queasy dread, I initially tried to avoid anything that reignited the Hillary versus Bernie wars. But it was like trying to avoid looking at disgraced Congressman Anthony Weiner's infamous Carlos Danger crotch shots. You know it will do you no good, but seemingly everyone else is doing it, and like Weiner, they keep waving their provocations in your face. As a Bernie sis who wound up not only voting for her, but making canvassing calls once Clinton was the only candidate standing between us and Trump, I kept hearing Bernie's exasperated "what the hell difference does it make now?" refrain in my head whenever somebody tried to get a Hillary-Bernie squabble started. I was mostly able to avoid the melee, until the media started devoting about 80% of its attention to Clinton's What Happened. Some of what Clinton says in that book jibes with my own perception of the campaign. Sexism is alive and thriving in America today, and women like Clinton who have the temerity to be powerful, outspoken, and no longer young are basically walking around with bullseyes on their backs. The man who went on to become America's misogynist-in-chief, Donald Trump, was indeed personally menacing to Clinton during the presidential campaign, especially during that bizarre second debate, when he loomed right behind her like a gilded golem as she rather heroically kept her cool and continued making cogent points. And FBI Director Comey's decisions and timing in talking about what my man Bernie termed Clinton's damn emails were hard to fathom, and unquestionably hurtful to her presidential ambitions. Especially Comey's decision to repeatedly address the topic of those damn emails while staying pretty mum on the far more consequential topic of what the intelligence community knew to be Russian meddling in the election. It would have been nice to know a good bit more about that before we cast our ballots. Especially when many of us were fighting over fake news planted by trolls, bots, and the other weapons in what we can now see as Russia's undeniably successful cyber warfare. Watching Clinton on the Rachel Maddow show as part of the What Happened book tour last week, and listening to her astute and withering assessment of Donald Trump's potentially world-smashing flailing, I felt, as any sentient being must, that America would be far better off with Clinton as president. And as an individual who has dedicated most of her life to public service and knows better than most how the U.S. government works, Clinton has every right to speak out. Not only that, but we should listen, since some of what she has to say is important and instructive. Certainly, she has Trump's number. We see that now, in her full-throated denunciation of Trump's conduct since he showed up in the White House, as basketball legend LeBron James phrased it so delightfully in a recent tweet. And Clinton delivers her indictments of the current president with a coherence that makes some of us want to weep with longing for the past. President Barack Obama, and for what might have been, President Hillary Clinton. Looking at things from a post-Charlottesville vantage point, I shudder to think how much darker things may become. It's painful.